Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Hope you're doing fantastic. So, you need to put some strings on that marriage. You need to have a bond to the person who you are giving your body to. You need to have a stable partner who cares about you and is going to be ride or die. That is something that you should be proud of. That is something that you should seek. You should seek what is good, what is stable, what is pure, what is something that you can build with. If you advertise yourself as a woman who doesn't require anything besides just intimacy, you are letting yourself be trafficked. What do I mean by that? If you are allowing a man just to knock on your door, use you, and leave you, and this is something that is very degrading. You want to have someone who you can talk to, have emotions with, you can make memories with, someone who, if you have a surgery, you can call them to pick you up, somebody who is stable in your life and brings honor to your life. If you are a mother, you're a divorcee, you get with a guy and your children witness this dude just coming and smashing and leaving, that is going to break their psychology. It is not healthy for a little boy to see his mom get her guts blown out and then this guy just leaves. It is extremely traumatizing for a young boy to know that his mom is just some rag for a dude and that they have some silly marriage contract where she's basically just a booty call. She's just I'm going to use some graphic language here, she's just a fuck doll. She has no standing, no value at all, besides just her holes. And yes, I'm using graphic language because that is how your children will see you, okay? And if a woman is advertising herself as such, a good-hearted man is not going to think, you know what, I trust this woman, she's mentally stable, she is an asset to my spirituality. No. If a woman is selling herself that low, to where she's like, all you gotta do is just give me pleasure and then ditch me and say goodbye, you don't even have to text or call me, you're just a booty call. You're no better than a woman who sells herself. Because at least a woman who sells herself gets financial compensation. Okay? A woman who just signs a little piece of paper, gets a little temporary marriage signed by a corrupt sheikh. This is something that no good father would want for his daughter. And it isn't a solution to anything. Why? Because it just lets men jump from one girl to one girl and it increases those women's body counts. It increases those women's mental illness and emotional dysfunction. Because in order to have intimacy with somebody, you have to shut off your emotions as they just get up, put their pants on, and leave you. Okay? If a woman wants to cuddle and get close to a man, and he's like, hey baby, I told you there ain't no strings in this marriage. Cut, cut, snip, snap. Wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. And he just walks on out. Inside, when she's taking a shower, she's alone. In her heart, she knows she wants a relationship. And the 5th, 6th time you have intimacy with that person, you're going to start to catch feelings. And if you don't catch feelings, it's because you're suppressing something. And you've become more masculine. And you're not really tuned into your natural feminine nature. And if you look at what you're doing by letting a man just use your body, and to where you don't have any rights and you forfeit it, he has no obligation to you at all. And you look at your daughter and your son and you don't feel any sense of shame, this is quite sad. That is something that feminists want. This is not something that a pious Muslim woman would want. I believe you have to, as the Quran talks about, you have to give justice between the wives. You have to have equal time. You don't want to be ignored, because if you practice polygamy in this way, This actually puts a huge stigma upon the Muslim community, and it fetishizes Muslim sisters as nothing better than prostitutes, even less than prostitutes. Because, like I said, they get money, whereas what does the Muslim woman get? Nothing. No dignity, no love, no emotional connection, no honorable station. She's just a fuck doll. Yes, I'm gonna say that word. She's a fuck doll with a rag on her face, is what they're gonna say. They're gonna be like, oh, what is that? That cloth is a symbol for pious women. You just let me smash and dash, baby. Who are you? You can't demand honor in this way. You can't, because the way in which you are behaving is dishonorable. Okay? If a man can't visit you as much, and he treats you as a proper wife because he's traveling, he's doing business, that is quite different. But if the man is like, you know what, I'm gonna come see you on Saturday at 2 o'clock for about a half an hour, I'm gonna hit it, and then I'm gonna head out. Is that really what you want? The man who wants such an arrangement, and he doesn't want to provide for a woman, this kind of shows his lack of responsibility. Because you can measure a good man by how he is carrying out his duties, his tasks. That's why if you see a man who has a farm, he has his logistics down. A man who runs a company, a manager, you name it. Somebody who has responsibilities, carries them out, does the best he can do, on point, just doing it, crushing, handling it. That's somebody you're like, that's a cool man. That's a role model. But if guy is like, you know what, I just want to do the bare bones minimum. I just want to tap it and flap it. Goodbye. Is that somebody who has taken on responsibility on his shoulders? For example, some of these red pill guys say that stepfathers are cucks. They say stepfathers are wasting their resources by taking care of kids that are not theirs. Now, the thing is this. If a man has a second wife who has children from another marriage, and he effectively does his duty towards his wife and those children, he has essentially leveled up because he has shown his maturity. Regardless of if they divorce or not and the kids don't appreciate him, he performed his function. Whereas a guy who has all these different women and he just has one real wife and then the three are just temporary, no strings attached marriages, he has side chicks, and that is something that is supposed to be discouraged. Essentially what you've done to the Muslim woman is you've degraded her to such a low standing that she's only useful for her holes. And then it becomes, what kind of man wants to say, yeah, I have one traditional wife, and the rest of the chicks I just come on their face and I just leave them, F them, How would you look at a guy who talks so vulgar, who behaves so vulgarly? I'm using strong language because you have to examine what is the reality of the situation. What is actually happening without the romantic language. The solution is to help people get married, stay married, and perform their right functions with each other, because through those justice systems, you get more harmony. But if you have a side chick and you're like, hey, no strings niqab, baby, I only married you to tap it, and she gets pregnant, now what? And you were like, oh, I told you, baby, I only want to hit it. And maybe he'll step up to the plate and take care of that child. But how is that woman gonna feel? Oh, I only wanted this relationship for the booty. Now you're bringing a child into that situation, and how embarrassing that is. The child asks you, how did you and my dad meet? Oh, I was signed up to be his booty call. It's like, what? How degrading to tell your son that. That you just were a bag of flesh for someone to hump on once a week. Or twice a week, or however much. Right? And then you're just all alone doing that stuff. And if you're saying, okay, well, there's business women who just want that kind of arrangement. If you're a sister and you don't want to have a healthy, functioning companion and you just want booty, you're not thinking about the long-term problems that are going to come from that. When you get old, you need companionship. You need someone to take care of you. Your kids are going to have their own families. Maybe they'll like you, maybe they won't. But if your children know you're just some booty call for a dude, their respect for you is going to go way low. Do you want that? Imagine if you go to work and people know that your marriage is just this wham bam thank you ma'am arrangement. You're basically less than a prostitute. You have nothing. You are nothing. In the Italian culture, when some of these mafia dudes would have their side chick, they'd give her a gift or something, you know. But every man knew that chick is trouble. Don't ever wife up a chick who will accept an arrangement as such. And all the other men knew what that girl was useful for, and it's just for dumping your load on and then tossing her out like garbage. And then the proper way you treat the first woman, your only wife, because they'd have mistresses, they would give her the vacations, the stability, paying for the kids' college, doing all these things that are rightfully towards her. Okay? But if you have an arrangement where that is all you are, the booty is gonna get boring about after the 5th smash. And if you get divorced after that, you've just increased your body count, and then if you do this about 4 times, your temporary marriages, then who are you then? Imagine why would a guy want to marry a woman who has let dudes hump her with no accountability and no rights and just leave? How is that different from the non-Muslim women? This is absurd. A proper mother would never tolerate this for her daughter. A sister who loves her sister would say, "What are you doing here? What's going on?" A grandmother would never want to see her granddaughters acting in this way. And a brother, an uncle, a cousin, a friend of the family would grab a baseball bat and chase away any man who wants such an arrangement. Because you want someone who is going to bring you glory, someone who is going to honor you, build with you, be there for you in your darkest times when the walls are caving in. But if you're just a booty call and you're texting the guy out of nowhere, who are you to do that? You've broken the boundaries. And if he dumps you like a sack of potatoes because now you've gone outside of the arrangement and you want affection, you want a nice shirt for your pajama set, or you want something that was outside of your arrangement, sure, you have any time to claim your rights back, but he can also just divorce you or stop answering your calls. Because the Islamic form of marriage isn't a legal binding contract in America. You can only get married to one person. So he could just leave you technically. He could just be like, bye, and change his phone number and never call you again. Your little nikah that you did at the masjid doesn't have any legal standing. And so now if this dude just stops answering your phone calls and you started to get emotionally attached, even though you said in the beginning you didn't want this, well, now you're hurt and in pain and suffering, and you caused it all yourself. You marketed yourself as a flesh bag. You let some dude hit it and quit it. He dumped you, went on off to his proper wife who would never accept such an arrangement, and now you're alone, and now you're broken, and now you're trying to go to the next guy to have a real relationship, and he found out that you had a no strings attached marriage. He's going to look at you like a hoe. He's not going to respect you. That is behavior that is unbecoming of the hijab, unbecoming of a pious person. You should not run away from responsibility. You should find someone who wants you, and if you can't find that, it's better to be chaste and alone than to just let random dudes temporarily marry you and smash it. Because you're just pimping yourself. It's a hustle. You are just some chick to be, used and tossed like Sunday's garbage. Have a sense of dignity. And any man who is telling you to let other men use you, he's pimping you. You are an object. And it's not good to do that. If a man's telling you, yeah, sign up for my thing, you are being pimped. You are the product. And if he's gonna make money by you signing up to sell your flesh to men so that they can just tap it and hit it, he made money off of you acting less than a prostitute. A good man who cares about your well-being will say, you know what? Find yourself a good husband out there. Find him wherever he is in the earth. Pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Do istikhara prayer. Find him and be a proper wife. Do it. There's going to be someone out there who will accept your divorce record. Someone who will take on your kids. Find it and don't stop praying and find it. Giving the hedonistic solution is no different than a rapper with a bunch of booty hoes, than a pimp with a bunch of chicken heads, a mafia boss with a bunch of mistresses. You've just made it a fake image of Islam at this point. Even if you say, oh, the scholars permit it, you have to look out for how something can be abused. Something can be abused and twisted and then turned into something totally haram with unintended consequences. Have some dignity. Seek to be a proper wife, to perform your proper duties, because then you'll get fulfillment. If you think for a second that, oh, you know, I can just go to work, take care of my kids, I'm too busy to love any man, this isn't true. And you're going to hit menopause anyways. And your drive is going to go down. You're going to want someone to talk to. Loneliness sets in. Depression can come in. And if you're just some booty hole for some guy, who are you? Who are you and what did you gain from it? Nothing besides emotional trauma. And a nasty record. If I knew a girl had done a no-strings marriage contract, you ain't my friend. You're not sitting at my table. You're nothing more than a hooker. You can't sit here. You can't be around my daughters with your immorality. I don't want you around my man. Get out of here. Take it to the streets. I don't care if you're a Muslim woman or not. If you're going to sit here and talk to me and say, oh, I have a no-strings marriage, honey, you're no different than an escort. But an escort gets money. And I don't trust an escort. You're just letting random dudes pull it and then divorcing and getting remarried again, jumping from one bed to the next. Stay away from my man. You're not a pious Muslimah. You don't deserve to be a second, third, or fourth wife. Only the cream of the crop who are trying to perform their characters should be wiped up. The rest of you, leave you to the streets. Better women rather stay chaste and hope for their reward with Allah than to be used as some flesh bag and dishonored so. Those men who seek out women who don't want a strings attached marriage, seek out girls who have daddy issues, who are mentally ill, maybe they have bipolar disorder, they have something in them to where they know they can take advantage of these girls and toss them like Sunday's newspaper into the bin after they're done. And this makes the men worse, and it makes the women worse. And no child deserves to see their father behave in such a way, nor do they deserve to see their mother treated in such a way. Ain't no good gonna come from that. Rather, to have a noble station with noble provision, with your rights, and you performing your proper functions as a wife. This is the standard, this is the bar. Don't call people to what is lesser. Push them to go to what is higher. So, sisters, please don't do that kind of stuff. It's not going to work out. You can be a second wife and say, I'll see you 3 days a week, sweetheart, and demand your full rights. The third, fourth wife. And all of the women should be pious and clean. Should be pious and clean. No STDs, none of that. Because a woman who will accept a no-strings marriage, she most likely has such a low morality that she's probably going to sleep with other dudes. Because a normal, sane woman doesn't want to be treated that way, and she could go psycho later and just totally freak out on you and stalk you. Any man who thinks that a woman doesn't get attached and that she's not going to call for things, she could go to your work, she could do all kinds of stuff to make your life hell, because now she's attached to you, and you just left her, and now she's gone full psycho mode. You cannot play with a woman's psychology consequence free. All intimacy has consequences, and you have to think about what does that mean. And trust no man who tells you as a woman to just not have any rights in a marriage and open your legs to some dude who could divorce you in 3 months. You don't want someone like that. You want a man who says, no, keep those perverts, keep those creeps away. Let's find you a proper husband. I think this just speaks to the state of the Muslim Ummah if there are people who are claiming to be Muslim, who are calling Muslim women to become these fetish sex objects, fuck dolls. Yes, I'm going to use very strong language because that's what it is. And in an English grammar, that is the perfect word to describe what is occurring. Think about it. Put some strings on that marriage.